This is going to be a cooking recipe intended to children from the third cycle of primary education for them to work in different chemical processes and integrating different areas of knowledge, as well as developing STEM skills. The justification for choosing this recipe lies on its suitability for people of all ages and from different religions, especially children who are reluctant to fruit and dairy products. First of all, to foster a healthy education, we will have to remark some hygiene habits, such as the importance of washing hands before cooking, the fact of wearing a special cloth, cooking a prune, as mine, and finally, cleaning all the instruments and the space used for the cooking. Moreover, we will point out that our dessert is going to be a healthy one, since we are going to substitute sugar that it's normally used for doing a flan for some fruits. And we will also encourage students to bring a well-balanced diet that includes nutrients for the five basic groups of food. Talking about ingredients, to promote education for sustainability, we will stress that it is always better to buy proximity and seasonal products so that we do not expel so much greenhouse effect gases to the atmosphere. And at the end, we will also highlight the waste management by recycling and making the amount of leftovers so that we do not throw away any food. We should always let children measure the ingredients using the elective balance so that they can put into practice their mathematical competence. Let's gonna measure 40 grams of rice. If rice was up to here, we are gonna add double the amount of water. Rice has to be boiling for about 20 minutes, but I am gonna leave it boil for 17 minutes in water, and then it will finish the boiling process in milk. We could have cleaned the rice with water before using it, so that the amount of starch is reduced, but in this case we are not going to do it because we want our dessert to be a creamy texture and not a dry one. Meanwhile, we are going to prepare the aromatized milk. For that, we are going to add half of a cinnamon stick, some lemon peels, and the 400 milliliters of water in a casserole. We are going to leave it boil for 5 minutes, and then we will add the rice once it will have been drained. We have just added into the fruit processor both the apple and the dried figs, and now we are going to mix them, and let's gonna see which type of mixture can we obtain. As you will see, we have obtained an heterogeneous mixture, since we can already see and distinguish the different ingredients. Coming back to rice, we can notice that some water has been evaporated, meaning that it has changed from the liquid state into the gas state. Now I am gonna drain the rice, and it should be highlighted that we are talking about an indissoluble solution, since the rice, which is the solvent, does not dissolve in water, which is the solute. Now we are gonna drain the rice through a filtration process, which is a separating method used to separate a solid component from liquid ones when the solid one is undissoluble. Now we have just broken the eggs, and we are gonna mix them until the yolk and the egg white are combined. The egg contains a lot of proteins and vitamins, especially vitamin B, and it's also worthwhile mentioning that the healthiest part of the egg is the egg white, because it does not contain fats nor cholesterol, whereas the yolk does. And that is why some athletes drink smoothies or shakes that contain egg white. We're going to remove the cinnamon stick and the lemon peels in order to add the beaten eggs into the casserole. And we are gonna stir the mixture until we will obtain an homogeneous one, which means that we will not be able to distinguish the both ingredients with our naked eye. Now we are gonna add the rice into the casserole and the fruit, and we will stir them in order to see which type of mixture we obtain. As you can see, if we stir it, we can distinguish all the components of our mixture. This means that it is an heterogeneous mixture. And we are gonna let it boil for 2 minutes and then remove it from heat. Here we have the flan mixture prepared. We can appreciate that along the mixing process, the mass has been increasing as we have been adding different ingredients, and so has done its volume. Now, here we also have a semicircular bowl that we have covered with cling film, and its balls and bottom are full of fruit, kiwi and banana. And now we are gonna pour the flan mass. Here we have a large casserole filled up with water up to half its capacity, and we are gonna introduce our bowl with the flan and cover it with a lid. We are gonna leave it cook for about 45 minutes or 1 hour at low heat. It should be mentioned that this is a process called the bain-marie, and during this boiling process, temperature remains constant at 100 degrees. In the flan has taken place the desnaturalization of proteins, in which proteins from the egg, with the heat, they have lost their initial structure and it has given origin to another structure. Here we can see the flan already cooked. Moreover, when we heat a liquid mixture, it is converted into a gel, which has solid characteristics, and this is called jellification, and takes place with us when a substance is converted into a gel, and that's what happened to the mass of the flan. Furthermore, we must be careful because if we cook the flan for so much time, or if the temperature of the bain-marie is so high, the flan will develop inside vapor, and this vapor is trapped by the coagulated proteins, thus leaving the flan with little holes. Apart from that, if we would not want to use the heat or to work with boiling water with children, the alternative would be to use leaves of jelly, which allow the jellification process to take place but at room temperature. Once the flan is done, we are going to let it cool completely for about 2 or 3 hours, and it's remarkably important that we cannot remove the flan from the bowl because the jellification process is already following its path, since the proteins have to finish their association with cold. And after this time, we will chill it for about 6 or 8 hours. The flan has been in the fridge for 8 hours, and now we are going to flip it. Here we have our Fruit-flan island, and it is ready to be decorated. We are going to prepare sugar syrup, and before starting, we should remark that sugar can reach very high temperatures, up to 200 degrees, and that is why we have to be very careful when heating it. We recommend to use oven gloves and a large wooden spoon. To start with it, we will need a proportion of sugar and some water, but water is optional. Let's gonna start adding the sugar gradually and at a low heat. As sugar heats up, we will obtain an amber golden color, which is called caramelization. This is an oxidation process, and it takes place when two main components of sugar and its molecules break up because of the heat and the oxygen from the air, and thus they react among them to create the syrup. In addition, we can smell now a flavor that we could not before, since sugar is an odorless matter, but now we can smell this generated flavor. Moreover, we can notice that it has taken place a change of state, which is called fusion, because sugar has passed from solid into liquid. And we can say that fusion temperature for sugar is 168 degrees, and it is an exothermical reaction because it has released energy from heat, and this means that the product, which is the sugar syrup, contains now less energy than the initial reactive, which was sugar. When sugar syrup will be done, we should be very careful, because if we continue heating the sugar, it will become darker and it will lose its initial sweet flavor into a bitter one. And this process is called carbonization, meaning that the more we heat the sugar, the less sweet will it be, the syrup. When we will remove the saucepan from the heat, in a very short period of time, it will displace a crystallization process in which molecules with crystalline among them, and also a solidification process through which the liquid substance will become hard and solid. That is why we have to prepare our decoration fast.